How do you bring about great changes in the world? Usually, it's not possible when you think in terms of this huge planet. And yet, if small groups of people can get together and live in an ideal way, then it is possible to bring about really wide-sweeping changes. And so it is, for example, that Buddha, with just a handful of disciples, was able to change the entire East. And Jesus Christ, again with just a handful of disciples, he was able to bring great changes into the West. There are two things that were needed there: divine inspiration, but also a few people only really dedicated to doing what they felt was right. We need to understand that most people in their desires, in their opinions, in their actions, cancel each other out. Those few people in this world who really dedicate themselves to bring about change by changing themselves, they are the only ones in history who have wrought major changes in this world. And in that spirit, I have started the Ananda communities, which now exist on 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and America, North America. And these communities were started back many years ago in 1969, when people were telling me, you can't possibly do it, it's too difficult. But just a few people who really shared this ideal and worked together wrought a change that was wonderful for ourselves and wonderful for many other people. We've had an impact on society on so many levels, on business, on health. Many things that people are now doing in America, they weren't doing before. It was our example that helped. We've also created how to live schools, living wisdom schools, which teach children not only how to make a living, but how to live happily and well and harmoniously with other people. These things can only be done first on a small scale. The great changes that were wrought by communism with an attempt to change a whole society, it was ruinous. True communism is only possible on a small scale when people know each other and really want to live for each other's well-being and the greatest good to the greatest number being decided by the people themselves and not by some tyrant. So these communities, which I am now starting in India, are a very important part not only of my Guru's mission to this world, but for all of this continent of India. We have small communities in India in the sense of villages, but those villages are created only for economic or social reasons. Maybe the village is near a port, maybe the village is in a farming area. People living together not with ideals, but just because it happens to be convenient to live in the same location. When people come together with high ideals and try to live properly, then they find that everything they do makes an impact. People, although our first community, which I started nearly 41 years ago, was started in America, up in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, sort of out of the way of everything. And it's all we could afford, so we had to get land there. But people come to us from all over the world. If you want to do anything for society, if you want to help other people, then the best thing you can do is team together with a few people, as we are trying to do at Ananda, and join us if you can, because our ideals have been tested and our way of following those ideals have been proved. So do take seriously this is why I am in India, to help bring about, to help create small communities. And the one especially that we're doing near Watunde, outside of Pune in South India, this I strongly believe can help to remake India. Now there's another thing. I talked to Abdul Kalam a few years ago. I had a meeting with him, And he said, what do you think of the changes in India? Well, since I first came here in 1958, there have been enormous changes. And of course they haven't all been spiritual. Many of them have been in the direction of materialism. But I said even back then that India needs to claim its place among the great nations of the world. Therefore, India has to go through its materialistic phase. Even back in 1950, I was thinking socially also, and the need for that kind of technology which would help India to rise to the level that it deserves in this world. India has a great place in the history of this world. It has always been the sort of spiritual guide of the world. So I believe that all this technology, which of course is bringing people into materialism for now, in the end, India can't get away from its spirituality. Of course, my life is dedicated not to social upliftment, but if that social upliftment can help people to be closer to God and to think more of Him, and I am trying my best to help direct it that way, then certainly what India is doing and what we are doing in India can be of great help. Now there's another aspect to it. We have now entered a new age, and in the ancient system it was called Dwapara Yuga. Most Indians believe that we are still in Kali Yuga, but my Param Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri, said that no, this was a mistake. We are now in an age of energy. And if you look around you, everything is based on energy. The cars we drive, the lights in our homes, well, I don't need to enumerate it. But that energy is also a very expensive thing. The amount of oil in the world is dwindling. And it would be a wonderful service to help Indians, and it would be a wonderful service for Indians to help the world to develop cheaper means of providing electricity from the sun, from wind, from the tides as they move, and so on. All of these things are possible, and I would like very much to develop these things, to invent things even, to help people to have electricity. If you could bring electricity into every village in this country, just think what it would do. Yes, they'd watch television, yes, they do things that are wrong, but it's only when you can have the education, when you can have the more civilized conveniences and so on, it's only then that you can really be free to seek God. I've noticed in the ashrams of saints in India that the people who come to those ashrams are not the poor people. They are people who have been born into homes with at least a modicum of wealth and conveniences, comfort. So wealth, if it's used in the right way, is not wrong. And I would like to propose, and I have proposed, that our communities also use electric power. For now, of course, electric panels, we can develop cheaper and cheaper panels, and they're already being developed in America and elsewhere. But these are ways to bring prosperity to the world, and to India in this case particularly, because if we can have solar panels, this is a business that I want to develop to help support our communities, and it's a business that I think can help support those people who join our communities and can also help uplift all of India. So I plead with you, do take seriously this invitation to join us in this great endeavor. God bless you.